Have you ever wondered what Satanism truly is, beyond the Hollywood portrayals and societal misconceptions? It's a belief system that's often shrouded in mystery and misrepresentation. Today, we're peeling back the layers of Satanism. We'll debunk common misconceptions and shed light on its rich history. We'll explore its evolution and the various branches that have emerged over time. So let's cast aside preconceived notions and delve deeper. Prepare to delve into the depths of a belief system that is often misunderstood and misrepresented. To comprehend Satanism, we must journey back to its roots. The origins of Satanism are shrouded in the mists of history, but its modern understanding began to take shape during the late medieval period in Europe. It was a time when society was grappling with profound changes, and fears of the unknown often manifested in the form of witch hunts and accusations of heresy. Satanism, as we understand it today, was perceived as a shadowy, insidious force, often linked with witchcraft and heresy. It was believed that those who practiced Satanism were in league with the devil, partaking in nocturnal rituals and ceremonies to curry favor with the Prince of Darkness. But the truth is, much of what was labeled as Satanism was largely based on fear and misunderstanding. In reality, the idea of Satanism was more of a construct of the church, a tool used to control, instill fear, and suppress dissent. It was a label applied to those who defied the church's authority, questioned its teachings, or practiced alternative forms of spirituality. The church's portrayal of Satanism was a stark contrast to the benign nature of many of these alternative beliefs and practices. But as centuries rolled on, the concept of Satanism began to evolve. It moved away from being a tool of fear and control to a form of rebellion against dogmatic religious beliefs. The Enlightenment period, with its emphasis on reason and individualism, played a significant role in reshaping the perception of Satanism. It became a symbol of defiance, individualism, and the pursuit of knowledge over blind faith. In the modern era, Satanism has taken on various forms, from theistic Satanism, which venerates Satan as a deity, to atheistic Satanism, which views Satan as a symbol rather than a literal being. Despite its controversial history, Satanism continues to be a subject of fascination, misunderstanding, and fear. Satanism has journeyed through centuries, evolving and adapting to societal changes. As the world evolved, so did Satanism, stepping into the modern era with a new face. The year was 1966, a time of significant cultural shifts. It was in this year that a pivotal event in the history of Satanism took place: the establishment of the Church of Satan by Anton Szandor LaVey. LaVey, a charismatic figure, brought Satanism out from the shadows and into the mainstream, challenging the traditional notions of devil worship. But what made the Church of Satan stand out was not its provocative name, but its philosophy. Contrary to popular belief, the Church of Satan did not advocate for the worship of the devil or any deity for that matter. Instead, it embraced atheism. It championed the power of the self, the individual, putting the human being at the center of its ideology. The Church advocated for individualism, self-indulgence, and personal freedom, recognizing these as intrinsic human traits. This was a radical shift from the traditional image of Satanism, often associated with dark rituals and devil worship. The Church of Satan painted a new picture, one that focused on the human, the earthly, and the tangible. It brought about a redefinition of Satanism, aligning it more with humanism than with the supernatural. The Church's influence was not confined to its followers. It seeped into popular culture, influencing music, film, and literature. It challenged societal norms, questioned authority, and encouraged critical thinking. It was controversial, no doubt, but it was also transformative, pushing the boundaries of what was considered acceptable. The Church of Satan's influence continues to this day. Its impact can be seen in the growing acceptance of atheistic belief systems and the emphasis on individualism in contemporary society. It has also sparked a debate on the nature of religion and the role of belief in our lives. The Church of Satan was a turning point in the history of Satanism, shaping it into its current form. It took a misunderstood and often maligned belief system and turned it on its head, creating a philosophy that continues to challenge and provoke to this day. Like many belief systems, Satanism is not a monolith. but a spectrum of beliefs and practices. Let's start with LaVeyan Satanism. Founded in the 1960s by Anton LaVey, this branch doesn't worship Satan as a literal entity, but as a symbol of independence, freedom, and individualism. LaVeyan Satanists follow LaVey's Satanic Bible, which promotes indulgence, vital existence, undefiled wisdom, kindness to those who deserve it, and vengeance rather than turning the other cheek. Next, we have theistic Satanism, a branch that diverges significantly from LaVey's philosophy. Theistic Satanists believe in Satan as a real and supernatural being, to whom they offer their worship and devotion. However, interpretations of who or what Satan is can vary widely among theistic Satanists. Some view him as a liberating force, others as a deity of chaos and destruction. And then we have Luciferianism. Despite the name, Luciferians don't necessarily see Lucifer as a devilish figure, but rather as a bringer of enlightenment, knowledge, and wisdom. This branch is often associated with the pursuit of enlightenment and personal development. Luciferians value individualism and personal freedom, similar to LaVeyan Satanists, but they also emphasize balance and harmony, which makes their approach a bit more holistic. Lastly, there are many other smaller branches and offshoots, each with their own distinct beliefs and practices. Some are more aligned with atheistic views, seeing Satan as a metaphor rather than a literal being, while others lean more towards mysticism and occult practices. It's important to remember that while these branches share a common name, their beliefs can be vastly different. Satanism, like any other belief system, is diverse and complex. It's not just about devil worship or evil deeds as mainstream media often portrays. Instead, it's a wide-ranging spectrum of philosophies and practices that reflect the diverse perspectives of its followers. The variety within Satanism is a testament to its dynamic nature and ability to adapt to different perspectives. At its core, what does Satanism stand for? This question, as loaded and fraught with misconceptions as it may be, paves the way for an exploration of the philosophical aspects of Satanism. Often, the first thoughts that come to mind when one hears the term Satanism are of dark rituals, sacrifices, and a general malevolence. This, however, is a far cry from the reality of the beliefs held by most who identify as Satanists. Satanism, in its various forms, tends to emphasize individualism. It places the self at the center of one's universe, encouraging followers to pursue their desires and ambitions without guilt or shame. This is not to be confused with a call to hedonism or selfishness. Rather, it's a recognition of one's own importance and a rejection of societal pressures to conform or to put others' needs ahead of one's own. Another key tenet of Satanism is self-determinism. This philosophy champions the idea that each individual is solely responsible for their own fate, rejecting the concept of divine intervention or predestination. It encourages personal responsibility and accountability, arguing that one's successes and failures are the result of one's own actions and decisions, not the whims of a higher power. Lastly, but certainly not least, is skepticism. Satanism encourages questioning, doubt, and critical thinking. It discourages blind faith and urges its followers to question everything, including the tenets of Satanism itself. This skepticism extends to all areas of life, advocating for evidence-based belief systems and a rational approach to understanding the world. So, far from the sinister and malevolent caricature often portrayed in popular culture, Satanism is a philosophical stance that values individualism, self-determinism, and skepticism. It's a belief system that champions the power of the self, the importance of personal responsibility, and the necessity of questioning and critical thinking. Despite its controversial reputation, Satanism espouses a philosophy that many might find surprisingly rational. So, what have we learned about Satanism? We've journeyed together through the dark corridors of history, tracing the roots of Satanism back to its origins. We've come to understand that it is not a mere cult or a rebellion against mainstream religions, but rather a complex belief system with its own unique tenets and principles. In the modern era, Satanism has evolved and diversified, branching out into various schools of thought, each with its own interpretation of Satan and what he represents. Some view him as a symbol of freedom and individuality, others see him as a force of nature, and yet others perceive him as a literal deity. We've also delved into the philosophy of Satanism, exploring its emphasis on self-empowerment, personal responsibility, and the pursuit of knowledge. We've learned that, contrary to popular belief, Satanism does not advocate for evil or harm, but rather champions the rights of the individual and the quest for truth. In the face of sensationalism and misinformation, it's crucial to remember that Satanism, like any other belief system, is far more nuanced and multidimensional than it may initially appear. It's a rich tapestry woven with threads of history, philosophy, symbolism, and personal interpretation. Satanism, like any belief system, is complex and multifaceted, deserving of more than a passing glance or superficial judgment.